Today I'm bringing you the 4 things that reversed my injury. And I'm bringing it to you so that hopefully you guys can have a look at what actually went on, everything I tried to do, and actually come out with an action plan so that you don't have to go through the same process that I did, and hopefully you don't get injured in the future, and then everybody would be happy. So let's get straight into the video. Even a month ago, I couldn't extend on my putts like I did just then. So let me quickly take you through what actually happened in my injury. So let me take you back to the actual place. So I was at Quarry Park, had a big forehand session with Noah. Day before, I had a big back session in the gym. And I decided to throw a few cold, full power putter backhands, as you do. And on one of the last ones, I was in this position, super pronated. So I didn't actually normally throw like this, but I was trying to throw like this because it fixed some of the other issues that I have with timing that I'm just figuring out now. And obviously, I used to be fully supinated. That's a different story though. But usually, slightly pronated is good. And I was like this, and I threw a full power backhand, and bang! In my follow through, I just got this really, really sharp pain in my elbow. And then I threw another one and I got really sharp pain again. And I was like, oh gosh, I've got to stop throwing. I don't want to make anything worse. Definitely good. But then I couldn't, after this amount of extension, I couldn't extend fully. And this was not ideal, obviously. It was worse when I supinated as well. And I had no clue what was going on. Super sharp pain, no idea. Had a little bit of research, 3 or 4 days of rest. Then I went back to it and it got into it maybe 5 days and I was fine. And then fast forward to being in Belgium, and I went into a cold plunge. Hadn't been doing any preventative stuff, and I flapped my arms like this in the second cold plunge in a row. And same thing with my elbow. Then this thing happened. This thing went on for over a month, and I was at a loss. And then I could turn up to Conopiste, great event, Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and 10 minutes before my tee time, I was going to play left-handed. And you can imagine leading up to that, I've been in Belgium most of the time and I can't play. I filmed the Scottish Open and I couldn't extend my elbow, and I really wasn't like, I was basically depressed because I couldn't do anything, and I wasn't even actively working towards anything. It was not a good time. But after this, before the event, I started doing some crazy stretches like this and lots of yoga poses, and I was able to play the event, but I still couldn't fully extend, so I played with a bent arm, which is not ideal, but that was the extent of my injury. And so, to move on to the next point, what actually happened is going to be combined with number 1, which is go and see a professional. If something actually happens to you, I spent over 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks finding out on YouTube, learning about everything in what could have happened, what could have been one day where I'd gone and saw a proper professional. Now I saw someone first, but they weren't quite as knowledgeable as the person I saw second. But the person I saw second, super knowledgeable, and luckily by then I was already doing a lot of the good things, but I could have saved a month and a half of recovery if I'd just gone and saw a really, really good person who knew what they were doing. Now, if you're wondering how I did in Conopiste, I came second last, so not too good. Doing a lot of things like that. But I really did learn a lot of things about playing through an injury. Same way that I learned a lot from going to see a physiotherapist. And I learned things like my chest. So I'll use myself as an example. My chest was really tight, and I never figured that out by myself. But they were able to give me, obviously I've got a lot of exercises now, preventative exercises, stretches, things to do in the gym. So I can look and I know now that this is one of the problems, which I can't really, no one around me that's not fully trained at this is going to be able to tell me. And so it's really, really important. And when I went to the first physiotherapist, moving on to point 2, one of the best things I did for myself was deep tissue work. And what I did was in Joe O'Brien's house, his parents' house, and I got onto, there was a corner, a wooden cabinet, and I was on my back like this, and I recognized that my back was really tight because I used to do these pull-ups where I went and used my back loads, and my back was overly tight. And so I did this really, really deep, good breathing, trying to do good breathing, tissue work in my back on this corner. Same thing you can do with a ball, a hard ball. Forget Brendan gave me a hard ball, and I also have a hockey ball, which I've now lost. But I was basically doing all of this rolling on the ball, and this really, really deep tissue activation work really actually gets rid of a lot of tightness. A lot of some areas have these like key spots that if you hit, you can almost feel, you can definitely feel the tension release. I'm sure something like acupuncture would be good, but this is one of the main things that I can do on a daily basis that keeps me from being too tight, is that deep tissue activation, not just that stretching, but getting my body weight on a ball and rolling it. And I went to the physiotherapist, and actually I didn't have the pain in my elbow, and she didn't seem to carry on with that point. But I realized afterwards that, it was a really big part of my injury was actually just tightness in my back. And I guess that's myself, because I go to the gym. It's maybe different to some of you, but it's a very relevant thing. So moving on to number 3 is yoga. So obviously this is not yoga. This is one of the things I did, but yoga, going into, let's say, these positions, I can really feel my back, or cobra and downward dog. Really, really focusing on breathing is very, very important. But I went and I started doing yoga because some of the things that were related, let's say tightness in my chest, can come from things like having tight hips and poor posture. And so this is one of the key ways that you can, and also it can be some equivalent. It doesn't have to be just yoga. It could be Pilates or doing your own. I do man yoga, watching YouTube at home in my room, and I'll do a 10-minute session, and it's bloody difficult. But that long term, like stretching with good breathing, really, really helps loosens the muscles. I don't know if it has any technical lengthening of the muscles, but I know that it definitely helps for everybody that does it. I know a lot of people swear by it. Nico Ratti, I was staying with him, and he does this routine every day. And doing this routine every day is one of the things that's going to prevent me from having further injuries, and it's one of the things that made me have an injury in the first place, not doing this thing. So yoga for each of the body parts that you're not even struggling with at the moment, especially the hips. There's a lot of things that you can do. That search up man flow yoga if you're a man, and women can look at it too. But those are some of the most key things, I think, in preventing injuries, because a lot of people talk about it like myself, but I never really did it. Now, number 4, a lot of instability in people's bodies comes from lack of strength in end range positions. So I've been doing a lot of end range strengthening. Gosh, I'm muddling those words. End range strengthening. And this is improving my mobility. Let's say for hip abductors, working just on, obviously it doesn't look like this, on the machines, let's say, and I'm doing this end range strengthening, same with my arm, for getting this stability back, this mobility back. It's really important. There's another thing that I do in the gym, which is also just generally muscular strength. So let's say my own back, I realized that I had, when I was pulling back here, I had poor, first of all, range of motion in my shoulder, but mainly when I would row, my right side would be elevated. So I had an elevated scapula, and I had very well developed right upper traps, but very weak lower traps, and very weak muscles surrounding it. So what I did, sometimes when something's bad, instead of massaging the thing that's bad, you need to strengthen the opposite muscle pairs. I think that's the right wording. So, for instance, my upper traps being tight, I need to strengthen my lower traps. And so I did a lot of lower trap exercises, and I looked, there's some good ones on YouTube. Obviously I'm not going to give you any advice on that in this video, but for me, this really helped. Strengthening these lower traps means that when I come back now, I don't have this like compensation where I'm raising my scapula and compensating with the upper trap, let's say when I'm reaching over. Same thing when I'm disc golf throwing. And this is one of the things that I went through, and the same thing the physio told me. He'd given me exercises. Another thing is using these bands, making sure you properly warm up. That's a hot tip bonus, is making sure you properly warm up, because like it's so pointless to not give yourself a 5-10 minute warm up. Just because other people don't doesn't mean that you shouldn't, because one of the best things that you can do, one of the top things that makes the top athletes the best, is preparing the best. And this is one of the things I've been trying to do more recently. So to recap, you need to go and seek a professional. Then you need to do some deep tissue work on that relevant area, potentially. That you may have a different type of injury, but this is what I did. And number 3, should do something along the lines of yoga, a daily routine. Has many other benefits to just preventing you getting injured. The mental benefits, it's movement, it's very good for you doing something like yoga. And then number 4, going to the gym, targeting that instability. This is often a big thing that people struggle with, and it reduces their mobility. They have this weakness, and then if you have a tight muscle, you need to maybe look at the opposite muscles. For instance, my upper body, my upper trap and my lower trap. And one of the things that you should not do, which is what I did, is play 4 tournaments in a row on the injured arm. Probably not going to be helpful. You should probably give it some rest. But also, rest on its own may help a lot with lots of injuries, but a lot of the things that you need to do is strengthen, because I spent 4 weeks resting at least, and I spent the amount of time that, obviously, if you're injured for this large amount of time, and then you come and you try and do the strengthening stuff, it's not going to fix it instantly. But if you know that you're doing the right thing, then you can be confident, and your mental side of things is going to be so much better, because what matters more is not about what's happened, but about where you're going to go. And if you're going to go and recover because you know you're on the right path to recovery, then you're going to recover better. Make sure you really research what you're doing, and you don't make any silly errors. Don't take what I say as fact. Take it as, hey, I should have a look at this, and I should do my own research, see if I come to the same conclusions. But thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.